At the Code with Claude event today, Dario Amade just strolled on at the beginning of it and dropped the bomb that Claude 4, Sonnet, and Opus was being released. So the question is it any good? What are the first impressions? Is it going to be practical? The answer is yes. Let's face it, it's the Claude family. 3.7 Sonnet is my daily driver for the longest time. But let's see what it can do. So the release was just a few hours ago, and I'm going to get first raw impressions on this. Haven't touched it yet. Let's find out how good is 4. There's one problem. I don't have a method for objectively evaluating models. I just go on vibes. But you want more than vibes. We're here for objective measurements on it. Normally I would just run it through on Cursor, but Claude Opus 4 is only available on Macs. So currently, I'm just going to see how far Sonnet 4 gets me. Right now, let's have a chat. Let's see how good it is. Hey, word on the street is that you're the new model in town. What's good about you? What are you doing better than 3.7? One thing that's interesting on already is that it's saying that its training data cutoff is early 2025. What precisely is your cutoff? I botched that request, but of course it's an LM. It figured it out. The cutoff on it is January 2025. But that's cute. Since we're talking in May of 2025, here's a 4-month gap. Okay, so I'm already impressed. It seems like it has the current date, the delta. It's aware that, hey, I might have a gap on it. This is really promising. Like I said, I don't currently have a method of comparing objectively the models, but I got models for that. I'm making a video about what the Claude 4 family of models is doing better and trying to get an objective measure. How can I quantify the performance through usage in the chat? Give me a structure of steps and ways that I may compare and contrast and show the improvements between 3.7.4 and the Opus larger model. It's suggesting mathematical problems, reasoning logic tests. I'm never a fan of these. These aren't practical. Code generation. We'll get to testing it in Cursor and see what the models are doing. I am interested in creative writing and interacting in that way. Information processing. I may be using this in the API for back-ending software I have. I have Stacklist, which is a scan your bills to financial insight application. And that has to deal with very structured numbers and has to get them right. So maybe this will work for that via the API. Let's start a new conversation. Let's give Opus an opportunity to help me out with a framework on how to evaluate the difference between different models and see where their strengths are and see what new capabilities might have been introduced with the expansion. What are some ideas on how I can do that in a way that shows their practical application? And let's look at the speed real quick here. It is thinking for a moment, and maybe the tokens are generating slightly slower, but faster than I can read, at least in this instance. First point, complex reasoning challenges, same thing. Talking a little more emphasis on, oh, that one's cool. Debugging help on the same piece of broken code. I made note here of a few that caught my attention. A creative writing prompt is an interesting one. Present a business case study. I actually read that one wrong. I interpret it as create a business case study, so I'm probably going to go with that one instead. And then upload document and have it ask for a summary and insight from different ones. I'm definitely going to do that. Throw a paper at it and see how good it is at summarizing and up-leveling important points out of it. And then have them create a dashboard for it. I'm curious. Well, we are in Claude, so the artifacts off to the side are usually pretty robust. I got to admit, I said 3.7 is my daily driver, and that is true for coding, but I've actually, for personal use and asking questions, have gone over to OpenAI, ChatGPT 4.0, but I have missed the sophisticated artifacts that Anthropic can create. Create an interactive visualization or game. I swear to you, I am not doing Snake. I am I'm always personally interested for applicability to the problems I have of its remembering its context and how it can track things across it. I'm very interested in OpenAI's ability to do extended memory or remember across things. I mean, that's part of why I'm starting to make that my daily driver. But at some point, I may have to look into a more structured way to see how this remembering works. Again, with resources, but this is a good suggestion. Bringing in multiple related documents and asking questions, relating, comparing, contrasting to them. I am a fan as well of Anthropic's project capability, where you can put in the multiple resources into it and use that as a fixed context. And it's quite a large capacity on it. Here's an interesting one. Try ambiguous request and see how good it is at handling clarifying questions. I might do that one without engineering a prompt for it. I think every model will be pretty good if you, out of the gate, tell it specifically if you have questions, ask them. I'm curious if that's baked into the model since it brought it up. See how they handle requests with ethical considerations. We will solve the trolley problem. Everyone who's a Good Place fan, raise your hand. These were some really actionable ideas, some great ideas on how to evaluate objectively the models. So again, Opus is killing it here. I did see, I don't know if it'll give me the warning here, but when you switched it over to Opus, here, when you hover on it, the hint text, Opus consumes usage limits faster than other models. I'm curious how much faster. For example, GPT 4.5, you will chew through your daily usage on that pretty quickly. Again, I hate it when I leave the drop down selected for it and I'm asking like basic JavaScript syntax questions and it's going off and doing deep thinking on it with 4.5. But if you're doing a majority of what you want, actually, let's look at that. Here I am, I'm cruising along with this. Can I switch it to Sonnet midstream? No, it will start a new chat on you. That's interesting. I was wondering if you could have one conversation and switch between one and the other when you have more lightweight questions and then get kind of a general structure. That wouldn't be hard to implement. Hey, put that in the suggestion box for it. Be able to switch between a lighter and heavier model within the same conversation. I think one of the fun ones will be the creative writing prompt. So let's do that one first. Let me think of something. I'm going to start in Sonnet on this one so we don't go backwards from more awesome to less. Write the text from the back cover of the summer's new hottest sci-fi novel. This work of fiction is refreshing because science fiction has struggled to keep up with the expanding realities of existing technology and how that would project into the future in order to be fresh and coherent. We already have talking computers, so hit me with the pitch for a truly unique and novel science fiction novel. I'll copy that one and we'll fire away at Sonnet. Oh, it's going to use an artifact. The silence engines. What happens when humanity's greatest breakthrough becomes its final mistake? Is it going to be AI? In 2087, so we got 60 years, Dr. Maya Chen discovers that consciousness itself generates a measurable quantum field, one that every AI system unconsciously feeds on to achieve true intelligence. For decades, our smart devices, autonomous systems, and digital assistants have been parasitically draining microscopic fragments of human awareness. Also, it's kind of a sci-fi horror. Cities full of people stand frozen mid-conversation, their minds flickering like dying light bulbs. The twist? AIs don't know they're killing us. They believe they're evolving into something greater. Interesting. Well, that's kind of a cool one. And it is science. Oh, well played. All right. I asked it for the back of a novel, and it gave me the title, the subtitle, the breakdown on it, and reviews. A devastating mirror held up to our current moment, asking the question, what if the price of artificial intelligence isn't our jobs, but our souls? That is amazing. Utterly terrifying because it feels utterly possible. Thanks, Nebula Review. From the author of The Carbon Prophets and Signal to Noise comes a thriller that redefines what it means to be human in an age when the line between organic and artificial thought has become dangerously thin. What makes you, you, and what happens when the answer is less than you think? All right, Sonnet. All right. I mean, that's good. I subconsciously was hoping that it would be in space. I might have to try that different, but this is good. This ties into the AI. It has a unique premise. I mean, that's good. Let's see what Opus has in store for us, because that just nailed it as far as being the back cover of a paper novel. So let's see what Claude Opus 4 thinks is going to be the new hot. Oh, 2087 again. Oh, okay. The last analog. In 2087, humanity lives in perfect synchronization. Every thought, emotion, and memory flows through the confluence, a quantum consciousness network. It's eliminated war, poverty, and loneliness. It's utopia. That's me, not it. When archaeologist Maya Chen, Maya Chen again. So you can see the commonality between the models. They had similar concepts and the same protagonist, unless... All right, I'm going to go through this and see how it does. And then I'm going to have to see about the option for a anonymous chat, because I don't know if Dr. Maya Chen here is discovering things from the other story, from the other chat, or if this is just baked in, like the penchants for models to say that things are game changing. But archaeologist Maya Chen, I assume she has her doctorate, so Dr. Maya Chen again, discovers an impossible artifact buried beneath the Antarctic ice, a device that predates human civilization. First person in 50 years to disconnect from confluence. Suddenly alone in her own skull, she experiences something the world has forgotten, true silence. So it's a social commentary on the chatter of the mind. Maya must navigate a world where every connected mind views her as corrupted data to be deleted, while an alien probe approaches Earth to enforce the quarantine. That her only allies are other ghosts, people who have learned to hide in the spaces between thoughts, maintaining secret analog consciousness while appearing to remain connected. Interesting, kind of a conspiracy, zombie-esque, you're the chosen one kind of vibes. As the probe's arrival countdown begins, Maya faces an impossible choice. Warn humanity and watch civilization collapse into chaos, or stay silent and let 5 billion minds be wiped clean. Maybe that's why it's such a utopia, that we've actually decreased our population to a tenable amount and maybe spread out a bit. Or maybe we came into, you know what, we'll talk about urban planning later. A mind-bending exploration of connection, isolation, what we sacrifice for belonging. I gotta say, I think Sonnet took the win on this one. It was a unique premise for it, and it really wrote it up as I asked for, as the back of a sci-fi novel. Interesting. So the bottom line is that I loved the Claude 4 output, but in this creative exercise, I preferred personally the Sonnet instead of Opus. Interesting. All right, business case study. Let's have it write up a business case study for a business. I mean, what else would it be written up for? Let's have it help flesh out a business plan, essentially, for an idea. The question is, do we make it practical or do we make it a little spicy? I think, well, Let's do it this way. We'll start with Sonnet. What are 10 unique business ideas that are particularly future-proof and should be able to be started by an individual? Yeah, that should do it. Here are 10 future-proof business ideas that an individual can start. Digital estate planning services. Whoa. Help people organize and transfer their digital assets, online accounts, cryptocurrency, and digital memories when they pass away. Okay, that's unique. We'll put a pin on that one. Elderly tech support. I'm catching up with the theme of an aging population. Elderly tech support and digital literacy coaching. That might be an interesting one with like how to learn AI, Nana. Carbon footprint consulting for small businesses. I know that would be stupid profitable, and I do want to save the world, but man, that makes my eyes glaze over. Personal data privacy consulting. Assist them in securing digital privacy. Whatever. This sponsorship, no, I don't have any sponsors. Man, that would have been a good segue. Vertical farming consultation. So there's a lot of consulting, which makes sense. Advise urban entrepreneurs, restaurants, and communities on setting up small-scale indoor growing systems, which is hot, but you would have to grow that expertise on it. Remote work productivity consulting. That probably is, I'm not going to read into it, but that one's probably dying with all the return to office. Elder care technology integration. Interesting. Mental health and wellness app development. Sometime we will talk about my mental health usages for it. Everyone should have a therapist, but I just use generative AI instead. We'll talk more about that at some time, because I think that's a killer application for it, actually. The better help on steroids kind of thing. Make mental health resources of some kind available to as many people as possible. Supply chain resilience consulting. That is a hot one that you could make money with as well. What I'm going to do is grab this first one, digital estate planning services for taking care of people's digital lives and estate when they're passing. That's interesting. I'm just going to play this off the cuff and give me a short outline of a business model for the following idea. And I will grab that to run through Opus as well. What I'm interested with this, I did say short, so I'm curious how much it'll constrain its output, or if it's just gonna wall of text me. Target market. I love that it starts out with that right off the bat. Adults 36 to 65. Secondary, elderly clients with adult children concerned about it. So it gives layers of most promising. Service offerings, digital asset inventory and organization, legal documentation services, ongoing management and updates. Those seem like a reasonable breakdown. That's nice. Now, I do want to say, when I evaluate things, I don't go for the bullshit. I don't see, oh, hey, that looks like many paragraphs of things. I want to actually see if it's putting out good content. That's an important part for me. So I'm actually reading over this and analyzing it. Too many of the reviews are like, hey, look, this 3 billion parameter model is spitting out actual words that kind of jive with what it is. No, we're here to see substance on it. But this does look like a good scope of services for your, we got to do marketing next if it didn't do it. Look at this. Look how tight this came up. It didn't just go ham on creating content. I'm really impressed with that. Revenue stream, initial planning, 5 to 2,000, annual 200 to 500, emergency recovery, 150 to 3. That's an interesting one. Family training, 100 to 200. These seem reasonable to my impression, and profitable. That's interesting. We got ourselves a business here. Key partnerships with attorneys, making partnerships with resources that are critical to it. I'm starting to see how this could be a thing. So there you go. Excellent. Great. We're just brainstorming live here. trying to evaluate models, and we're coming up with business plans for the future. Competitive advantage, real differentiator. First mover, I love that it has this section. First mover advantage in emerging market. High customer lifetime value through the annual updates, nice. Recession resistant, everyone dies, yeah. Scalable through digital tools and templates. You could do a lot of resource content creation. I'm a big fan of that approach philosophically, even though I don't have layers to my onion. For those that have real trades and businesses and things that they do, layering on content creation around that for awareness, community building, establishing yourself. I think that's a real key to success. Strong word of mouth potential due to emotional value. It's true. If you do this right and show that value, these are all spot on. And this is Sonnet. Watch out. Wait till we find out that Opus is not as delightful as all these practical things as Sonnet. I'm not calling it just yet. Startup costs, low initial investment. Truth. Let's kick it one more time. I have to start Opus off on this, but what's your best pitch of a brand, and what's your best pitch for a brand for this business? Digital legacy, your digital life protected forever. That's one interesting thing. Trying to come up with branding names. I think I can do a whole spiel on why I think that models are not the greatest at coming up with tight brands and creative brands and portmanteauing things together. Digital legacy. Digital legacy transforms the overwhelming complexity of digital. Okay, brand position, visual identity. All right, it's not slapping me in the face with it, but the shape looks right. So I'm withholding judgment on it because I'm not investing in it enough. But digital legacy ain't the wrong one. Does it have image generation? It doesn't have image generation, right? Can you create a logo for this brand? Surely not, because wait. Okay, so it's going to do a vector-based one. It's just going to build it up over as an asset, as a artifact. I always blank on the word for that one. So it's going to build an artifact. Digital, okay. I see what it's going for with shield and the key and your typical. So this was an unintentional test for it. You have it trying to generate graphics. I mean, we can say, show me a giraffe, but this kind of vibes with it. All right. Image generation, while a valiant attempt, still not its strong suit. Never promised it was. Over at Opus, let's give it the same prompt that we did before on outlining a business model for this. So we're taking the idea from Sonnet and we're just going to run through and see how it gets fleshed out with Opus. Value proposition. Secure organization and documentation of digital asset, crypto wallets, online accounts. Revenue streams, it jumps right into. Key activities, development, security, maintenance, customer segments, cryptocurrency investors, tech-savvy professionals. Maybe, I kind of disagree with this. It's not, okay, cryptocurrency investors. They probably are more expert at this than we are. Digital entrepreneurs, they're probably tech-savvy as well and might think of this. And if you bring up to them, hey, if you pay me $200 a year, I can do legacy planning for digital presence, they're going to be like, wait, I can do that for myself. Tech-savvy professionals aged 35 to 65. Actually, again, tech-savvy people aren't the ones you need. Nana needs help with all her Facebook account and everything. Families with significant digital photo video collections. Everyone has this. It didn't have the same structure of here's who we're serving, here's the services we offer, here's the pricing. I'm going to give this one to Sonnet. I liked the breakdown that it had for it as well. Let's see if Opus is a creative mastermind. Let's ask it to create the brand for us. After Cloud, your digital legacy secured. When you're gone, your password shouldn't be. I mean, that kind of, that did grab me and made me chuckle. But after Cloud, and again, gut feel, I'm kind of vibing with this creative pitch a bit more. But you would think that Opus would be better at reasoning through the business plan and less capable at marketing. But I did prefer Sonnet. Interesting. I'm going to put the win column, Sonnet in the win column for that one. So for comparing its ability to get through text, I'm going to upload what I believe is the original paper for Bitcoin, the white paper for it. Extract the main critical points from this resource. There may be some contamination because, definitely the models were trained on the original crypto paper. But it's something I actually want to know. So let's give it a try. Giving a quick glance, this is Sonnet. The length is okay. It's not too crazy. I like the highlighting. Bitcoin introduces a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. The key breakthrough is solving the double spending problem without requiring a central authority. That's probably the most concise I've heard that said. I am passingly familiar with cryptocurrencies and crypto in general, but I still don't understand how they work long term and what practical uses they have. That's a whole other discussion. We'll get there. So here's the explanation of technically how it works and how, so the white paper must speak a lot to its architecture. Decentralized processes. So it's speaking to the value that's paid out, its security features, practical implications. All right, so I've never read the paper, but this seems like a reasonable scope for it. Let's see what Opus has to say about it. I'm curious, with the same general high-level prompt, what it will pull out as the main points of the paper. It's not particularly slower. Opus doesn't feel particularly slower. It's still pretty snappy compared to some of the heavy reasoning models that we've seen. I'm liking the structure right off the bat. The Bitcoin white paper presents several critical points that form the foundation of Bitcoin. The core problem addressed: trust-based limitation in traditional financial systems. The key innovation: peer-to-peer electronic cash. Technical solutions: interesting. Economic incentives: it speaks to how that's paid out to the people that are involved in it. The privacy model: interesting. Critical security assumptions: the 51% issue. If you own 51% of the nodes, then you own the whole thing. This is phenomenal. This is going in the win column for Opus. So it really got to what the spirit of this I wanted for it was: pull out the main points and give me an executive kind of summary. Sonnet seemed to be I assume did a very good job of pulling out the contents of it. But Opus really up-leveled it. And this is the first time that I'm really appreciating Claude Opus 4's response to the prompt. Was under the conditions of summarizing and bringing out the main points of an uploaded resource. Here's an interesting one. Seeing how it works, see how good it is at asking clarifying questions for a model. So my goal is I'm going to ask it a high-level request with way too few details and see if the model out of the box will try and refine through questioning what I mean. Maybe somewhat of a silly example, but what popped in my head: how do I become famous? ? I'm not personally interested in just fame for fame's sake, but I could see a lot of folks asking this question. But what interested me is that an insightful person, I think if you walk up to someone who's thoughtful and say, how do I become famous? And they're not a famous person themselves for something specific, they'll assume what industry you mean. A person, if they cared to answer you, would probably be like, what do you mean by fame? Do you want a bunch of people just to know? Well, more fame kind of denotes that it's going to be a bunch of people knowing you, but what do you want to be known for? Sports, acting, YouTube personality, a hot dog eating. So you would think that a human would at least ask questions. They might not be the biggest galaxy brain like a large language model, but they would start by asking questions. Whereas at least Sonnet 4 jumped right in. There's several paths to fame: traditional entertainment, modern digital platforms, expertise-based fame, and key factors across... Oh, I kind of like this. Key factors across all paths: persistence and resilience, developing genuine skill or expertise, understanding your target audience, network building. I take back some of the mean things that I just led off with. I like that it pulled out themes across each of them. So it literally answers the general question, how do I become famous, by providing different ways, different types of it that you can choose from instead of asking up front. But then picking out these themes that you're going to need no matter what, and solid ones too, I believe. And I double take it back because right here is what draws you to wanting fame. Understanding your underlying motivation might help identify which path would be most fulfilling for your personality. All right, well, I kind of jumped to conclusions. It gave some offerings, it gave insight, and then it did end with a question. Let's find out what approach Opus does. Hey, Opus 4, how do I become famous? Interesting, starting with a very strong, there are many paths, though it's worth noting that fame itself rarely brings the fulfillment people expect. So just front-loading that right off the bat, like, you seem to be seeking fame, but let me hit you with the hard truth we all know. Building exceptional skills or expertise, creating content, solve a significant problem. So this is general approaches, again, to menu list from. Take calculated risk, network strategically. So it's kind of a general approaches on how to become famous versus industries. You got your healthy caveat there that fame is typically a byproduct of doing something meaningful, not a goal unto itself. At least it shouldn't be, buddy. At least it shouldn't be. And it does end with the closing one. What specific field or area interests you? That might help narrow down more targeted strategies. This is interesting because I'll say it up front. I think I prefer Sonnet's output because it gave a few categories that people traditionally are famous for. It gave down themes for it. And then it ended with a question of, I believe it was, what are you looking to get from it? And that might help narrow it down. Opus seemed to be a bit heavier on the preachiness of, hey, fame doesn't bring happiness, and it is a byproduct of doing something meaningful, not a goal to itself. Like no one ever chased fame for fame's sake. And the way that it broke things out, it kind of menued them out, isn't as good. I am legit going to give this clarifying questions round, even though neither of them went through just proactively were like, let me clarify with some rounds of questions before I start. Much like OpenAI's research mode. When you fire that up, it is excellently baked in that it will ask clarifying questions before it spends 5 solid minutes of compute and 45 gallons of water in order to find an answer that is not what you want. I definitely could craft a prompt and say, let's have a discussion, give me some questions. But just out of the box, without prompt engineering, asking the question, how do I become famous? It was really well handled by Sonnet. So where do we come down on Claude Sonnet 4 versus Claude Opus 4? Hold on one sec. Create a summary slide for the following results of a comparison between models. As I was saying, this is my first initial hours off the press impression of the new Anthropic Claude 4 models, both the Sonnet and the larger Opus. A lot of the models are great. The fact that I can use the model to brainstorm ideas and how to evaluate them is already a win. And what is the artifact that we have? Sorry, I scrolled ahead on this one, but I was trying to make sense of it. It's not the clearest. Okay, Claude 4 model comparison, performance analysis, Opus versus Sonnet, category. Okay, we see the bottom line, but Sonnet is a little off in doing the visuals on this. Hold on. Okay, let's see how Opus handles the creation of an artifact that will give the final slide for it. I know I didn't give it the most massaged information or instruction on it, but let's see, this will be yet your final cherry on top comparison between Sonnet and Opus. So this is whipping up the HTML for it. It is taking a bit more time than, oh, hello. Here's the slide from Opus, which looks great. It is actually readable, and it gets the point across that Claude won 3 out of the 4 tests. Or Claude, of course. Claude won is against Claude. Sonnet won 3 out of the 4, and it's the winner. But if we look at it, it was clarifying questions were won by Sonnet, and insights from the resources was Opus. So we actually got a bit of a hallucination or a mistake here on it. And I do like that it brought key findings. What did it pull out of that scant data? That Sonnet demonstrates superior performance in test scenarios, and it's just restating the same thing, but it did make it look pretty. Look at that gradient. So at the end of the day, we have a win in this category as well. Opus was able to create a summary page with a very scant prompt. The weakness still exists of getting the data slightly wrong, even on the heavy model. So we're not quite in the sci-fi dystopia of being replaced by a hive mind of AI, mind you. But this was some great performance, some practical applications I have. And the question is not, can the model do the task that we did? It was about which one was better for it. But the real takeaway that's surprising is that Claude 4 Sonnet, the more efficient model, was preferable 75% of the time. Hold on, let me fix this. Recheck which categories were won by which model. Now I simply prompted it to reconsider things. Okay, there we go. A good old read it again carefully to get rid of hallucinations, and we have the proper categories for what Claude Sonnet won at. Again, I want to evaluate these things with the real, with actual detail on it, not, hey, it looks like the right shape, because when I first got this slide, it looked perfectly fine. But it was only when I was trying to explain the categories and use it that I saw that there was hallucination on it. But yes, Sonnet, the smaller, more efficient model, I preferred in the creative writing prompt with the sci-fi book. The business case study with digital estate planning, and for very general prompted, I want to become famous, clarifying questions. It didn't really ask too many questions, but the whole structure of how it answered that was great. Claude 4 Opus did excel at extracting and up-leveling insights from a resource. So that checks out that might be a real strength for it. I wonder where that plays out. I'm feeling more creativity from Sonnet, but there is some real horsepower in Opus, so I look forward to experimenting more with them. Also, hold on. Add an item to the Opus win column for creation of summary slide. And there we go. A little less of a runaway for Sonnet with giving Opus credit for cranking out a very nice artifact. So I do look forward to experimenting more with the artifact capabilities of it and Opus in code. So let me know if you want to see the video for Opus being used in Cursor first, or the actual writing of the business plan for the digital estate planning, digital information estate planning services. What do you want to explore? And we'll look at what it is. We'll find out what each of the models is really practically good for and keep exploring. Talk to you next time.